Waiters of Reddit, what is the strangest thing someone has ordered? I remember when I was waiting tables many years ago, these two guys came in and ordered the entire breakfast menu, multiple orders of several things. They spent most of the morning from about 8:30 a.m. to about 12 noon at the restaurant eating it all. It was something like a large order of pancakes each. Those things were huge too. About 3-4 very big pancakes with eggs, several of them cooked several ways, and omelet and bacon and mushrooms and waffles also huge, and sausages and French toast and regular toast and home fries and a few other things that I can't remember off the top of my head. I remember thinking that they must have been ordering for a much larger party that just hadn't shown up yet, but no, just these two guys. They also consumed several pots of coffee between them. They weren't even huge guys. I'd say they were pretty big, stocky, maybe a bit chunky, but not obese. I have no idea how just the two of them ate that much food. I kept an eye on their table too while I gave them their many refills. They weren't taking leftovers for later either, just eating all of it as if they had never seen food. I seem to recall their bill was a fair bit more than my paycheck. I was just baffled by the whole thing and wondering how they were not totally sick from all of that grease. Working as a bartender on weekends, I get my fair share of hot orders, but I'll make your drink however you want it because I don't really care. You want scotch and cranberry? Sure thing. White Russian with no, that's not a White Russian anymore, but you got it. Vodka, do you want that instead of tequila? She told me that tequila doesn't go in a margarita, and if I were a better bartender I would have already known that. Macron sous Macron, yeah, people are stupid. I worked at IHOP. Took a table's order and get to the wife. She ordered a meal and I ask her how she'd like her eggs. She replies, unfertilized. Having heard this joke from drunken men before, I brushed it off and chuckled, but she was serious. She said, you know when you crack the egg, and you see that little white bit stuck to the yolk? That's the sperm, and I don't want it in my eggs. Still dead serious. I glance at the husband looking for answers and he just shrugs his shoulders and makes an I'm not getting involved sort of face. Isn't strange, but anytime they ask for a hot plate, I get shit on cause the chefs will always go, oh, they want a hot plate, do they now? And I'm always the fucker that has to take out the plate that's been cooked in the depths of Mordor. Also not a waiter. But I was picking up my normal pizza when a woman came in and ordered a white pie, i.e. no sauce with no cheese and garlic. So, the guy behind the counter says, round garlic bread? Yes. Well, not weird. But a man ordered a crab tilapia but he pronounced it crab talabia. I died. His wife was mortified. I haven't waited tables in nearly 10 years, but the weirdest order I got was from a guy who wanted a steak so well done that no juice would come out of it. Took like a half hour to grill it up that way and, surprise surprise, it was really bad. It looked like I was giving him the sole of a shoe. Not me, but another server I was working with at the time. Two women ordered a bloomin' onion. After it was delivered he went over to see how everything was. The lady asked for a cup of the sauce at the bottom of the plate. Ma'am, that is actually fryer grease, not a sauce. She looked at him and said, I don't care what it is, just get me a cup of it. He went to the back, ladled out a soup cup of fryer grease, and brought it out. The woman seasoned the grease with salt and pepper and went to town. That was probably the most disgusting thing I ever saw working as a server. I work in a fancy restaurant, so I don't get a lot of super weird, but what's annoying and weird to me is coming to a restaurant that's around $50 person and ordering water with lots of lemons and some sugar packets and then attempting to make your own lemonade there at the table to save $2. Either just drink water or just order a drink. A less than quarter strength extra hot cappuccino with 3 sugars. Not exactly. But I used to work food service in an Indian takeaway. The number of people who'd call up and seem to just order whatever the hell they wanted as if they'd never even looked at the menu. Can I get a bag of chips? Chips, fries? Sorry sir, we don't have chips here, we serve Indian food. Oh right, so. Like. What's the Indian version of chips? One guy called and tried to order a pizza. I assumed he had gotten the wrong number and told him we were an Indian food place. He was like, yeah, that's cool, just throw some Indian stuff on a pizza. That'll do. No sir. It won't. Edit grammar. Kid would come in with his mom once a week and order a no-meat cheeseburger. The first time was weird. So we brought him a bun with cheese and lettuce, tomato, mayo and onion. He sent it back, saying he didn't want any of the other stuff on it. Just the cheese and the bun. He wouldn't call it a grilled cheese for some reason. So the next week he comes in and gets a different server. I happened to be next to the boss when she put the order in, so the kid was spared another round of burger toppings on his grilled cheese. But man, that boy was different. Not an order. But I got written up once because a lady wanted a box for 3 fries and I thought she was joking. She wasn't. I'm the customer in this story. One time at an Indian restaurant, I ordered a bowl of mushroom soup as a side dish to my main meal. The waiter looked very confused and said, "Are you sure?" I replied that was sure that I wanted mushroom soup. He said, "I don't know if we can do that. Let me find out." He rushed off to the kitchen, And then he came back with a relieved look on his face and told me that they had what I wanted. I was very confused as to why the mushroom soup that they had on their menu was such a difficult thing to produce. A few minutes later, he proudly presented me with a small bowl of mustard seeds. He must have misheard me and thought that I wanted whole mustard seeds as a side. I couldn't bear to correct him, so I just poured the seeds onto my meal and thanked him. I worked at a pizza place and this man calls us all angry saying that he wants a quadruple triple. Our restaurant was next to Tim Hortons, so I thought he called the wrong place to order a 4 cream, 3 sugars coffee even though you can't call Timmy's to order. After clearing what he meant, we found out that he wanted a medium pizza with the works, but 4x the works including sauce and cheese, so 4x sauce, cheese, pepperoni, bacon, salami, ground beef, peppers, mushrooms and onions on one pizza, and he wanted it delivered. We told him that it would be quite pricey as we would have to add on the extra ingredients individually. When I placed the order with the kitchen, they didn't believe me and called the guy again to make sure this is what he wanted. It was. We had to put it in the oven with only half of the ingredients first to make sure it cooked and then put the other half and cook it again. He then called us super angrily after it was delivered because the pizza cost him like $50. Not me, but a friend of mine said that a customer once wanted to order a steak that was medium rare with no pink in the middle. The customer was dead serious. Added a lot of you have some really interesting theories, explanations as to why people would ask for this. They're all very entertaining. I feel like sometimes people are misinformed at bars as well. I was behind the bar and some lady was like, I want a kettle, one chilled but no ice, not too dirty, olives on the side and the kettle in a cold glass. I figured she wanted a martini and didn't know what vermouth was, so I was like, a dirty martini? Light on the brine? She's like, did you hear what I said? I just made it really dry and light on the brine. She loved it. Isn't my way better than whatever you wanted to make? I'm like, yeah sure. I worked at a small town diner place last summer. This guy came in every single day for lunch, and would order a plate of 13 French fries. If there were any more or any less, he would politely send it back for us to fix it. One time, he noticed a fry that was really small and sent it back because we gave him 12.5 fries instead of 13. We would get annoyed by him, but he was a really good tipper, so we dealt with it. A man once ordered a bowl of tomato soup and a Bloody Mary, simultaneously. He wanted me to wait to bring out the Bloody Mary so he could have it at the same time as the soup. He alternated one sip of the drink and one slurp of the soup until both were gone. I was a waitress at Red Lobster in Southern California. This older German lady would come in regularly and pick a lobster out of the tank. She would demand it get spoiled alive and whole, do not gut it or clean it, and bring it to her. She would eat the intestines and all the shit you're legally supposed to clean out of the lobster before serving it. We always accommodated her, and her Pomeranian who sat at the table with her worked in a restaurant years ago, and every Friday night after the bar this guy would order spaghetti bolognese and would cover the whole thing with French's yellow mustard. Not a waiter, but years ago I was in Denny's with my dad in Niagara Falls. I went to college at Niagara University. It was, of course, full of tourists. There was a Middle Eastern family that spoke only broken English at best that came in and took issue with a whole lot of the menu. After what seemed like 30 minutes of looking through the menu and haltingly trying to figure out what half the menu meant, the waiter suggested that he would have the cook prepare a vegetarian plate. To his and the chef's credit, they presented this family with a large, beautifully arranged vegetable and fruit plate. The father was so impressed, he clapped and took the waiter's hands, kissing them. Waiter had a huge smile on his face the rest of the time they were there. I'm not a waiter, but during my time as a host at the wonderful establishment known as Red Lobster, a man would come in every Tuesday around 7 and order linguine Alfredo. This would be totally normal, but he ordered it without noodles or shrimp. He'd happily sip away at a bowl of heavy, garlicky cream for a couple of hours while reading some Tom Clancy book before giving the waiter-waitress a large tip and leaving. I talked to him a few times, and he was as normal as could be. Cool guy. Waiting at a Red Lobster a while back. Every Sunday afternoon a dozen or so members of the Red Hat Society would come squat at our biggest table for about 4 hours. These women were absolutely horrible. From what I understand, the RHS is about being uninhibited as you get older, and not worrying about what people think of you. I think the ones in that area interpreted it as, I'm old, you have to deal with my crap, I'm going to make your life hell, tough cookies. Anyway, one of them had ill-fitting false teeth and couldn't chew literally anything. Every Sunday she'd come in and order the chicken finger meal, but she wanted it fried just enough to cook the breading, then microwave to cook the chicken, then thrown in the steamer to make the entire meal soggy to the point of falling apart. Every Sunday she'd send it back over and over because it's too tough, it's like chewing rubber. Just make it so it's edible and we'll be fine. We were finally able to convince our manager that it was literally impossible to get it soft enough for this hag to chew. and 1 week he refused to remake it a third time. I've never seen such a snarling, vicious human being in my life. She screamed at every employee she could find for 20 minutes before finally being told that the police were going to remove her from the building if she wouldn't leave on her own. Worked at a decently pricey restaurant, and one time a woman ordered just plain pasta noodles for her teenage daughter. Insisted she just wanted nothing but noodles in a bowl. The chef garnished the dish with some parsley and the girl threw a fit because she hates green stuff. I had to go back and get some plain noodles. This girl was like 15. I was a cook at the time, not a server, but since I'm the one actually making the wacky orders I can give some of my favorites. They want fish, but not the fish special, but they like how the fish special looks, so they want you to make it look like the fish special. Request granted. They want you to cut their hamburger as sixths. They were very specific, not fourths or eighths. I inquire if they're sharing it 6 ways. Server said no, this is just for her. Granted, but cutting 1/6 is harder than 1/8. They want the grilled tilapia, but no grill marks and no char whatsoever. I then explained to the server what grilling is, and why that was impossible. Not granted. I instead braised the fish in butter and fume. One of the only compliments to the chef I've ever gotten. My co-worker had a table of 22 people, and not a single one ordered a drink. During the Strangest motorcycle rally I worked at a cafe. Had a man visiting from Russia come in and order a sandwich consisting of butter and crushed potato chips. I was so confused. I thought I misunderstood him due to his thick accent, but, nope, he wanted a butter potato chip sandwich. My buddy used to order this exact thing for his hangover meal. We'd go to a diner up the road after a night of getting blasted. And to this day I find it be the weirdest thing I've seen on a food order. Open-faced 10-inch long sub-roll with all the toppings of a chicken Philly cheesesteak, chopped chicken, onions, mushroom, peppers, cheese. Then 3 eggs over easy, a layer of corned beef has, a layer of sausage gravy, and a shitload of ground black pepper. He would then cover that entire thing in a layer of ketchup, and eat the entire thing with fork and knife. Astonishing and disgusting all in one meal. Dry white toast, 4 fried chickens and a Coke. I worked as a busboy, and I got people drinks. This lady asked for lemonade. We don't have it. She looks at her water, looks at me and says, well, you have lemons, and I can see sugar packets on that table. Make some. I half-assed this, squeezed like 4 or 5 slices into a glass with some water and put in 3 packets of sugar. She didn't like it, surprisingly. Then she asked for as many lemons as I could bring her a pitcher and a bunch of sugar packets. She made the best lemonade she could. I bust the pitcher at the end of the meal and tasted some. It was not good. Fuck that lady. I had to cut basically an extra entire night's worth of lemons for her because she was being a twat about needing lemonade. I'm waiting to see if the waiter from the Thai place I went to with my team last year will write in about my boss getting so sloshed that he ate the technically edible decorative orchid flowers that came on top of everyone's entry, then asking the waiter if he could bring out another bowl of them. Added a word. Not a waiter, but I have 2 stories that probably made the involved waiters cringe. I used to date a girl that once ordered in a restaurant a well-done steak tartare minced raw beef. She didn't know what is tartare, only that it was meat. The funny thing is that the waiter brought to her what she ordered. Another time, I was with a friend and she ordered a banana cake and asked if it was possible to remove the banana pieces from the cake. I burst into laughter and my friend out of shame changed the order to a lemon pie, to which I said if possible remove any pieces of lemon, please. At Subway I was helping out a man who spent 5 minutes looking at our menu and said steak and cheese please. I asked him what kind of bread. He said rye was a LTO at the time. Then I asked him if he wanted 6-inch or footling. He looked at me as if I was an alien, so I then told him what they meant. He got a foot long. As I put on the steak, he asked me how the steak was cooked. He told me he wanted medium. The steak is basically ground beef, and it comes in bags. I had no clue, so I told him and he threw a fit and he just said whatever. Up next, I asked him what cheese he wants. I told him all of our available cheeses, and when I said Swiss, he asked me if the cheese was from Switzerland. I said no. And then he said oh well then I guess I'll have American because it's more local. What the fuck? Well, from there on out it was pretty regular. However, he did complain about the price and I ended up giving him the sub for $5 because he was bitching about how he thought all footlongs were $5. That was the only bad customer I had to deal with, luckily. Someone once pointed to the turkey wrap and said, can I have just the turkey, lettuce and tomato? That's what I brought, turkey, lettuce, tomato on a plate. He was confused as to why it wasn't wrapped. That's when I realized I was dumb and he wanted no bacon or mustard. I work at a pizza place that has a bar. One day a really drunk guy asked for a spaghetti and meatballs inside a calzone. My friend got super excited to make it since it was at least original. The drunk guy saw how excited he was making it and came behind the bar into the kitchen and tipped my buddy $20. He ended up taking one bite of his spaghetti calzone and leaving. Work at Cheddar's. It's a better Applebee's basically. Women ordered burger but replaced the meat with fried catfish, and added extra tomatoes along with 4 pickles. She specified. On the opposite end of the spectrum, we stopped into a Subway on our way home from a trip. I got a breakfast sandwich, and the girl asked if I wanted yellow or white eggs. I was really confused for a moment before saying, "Oh, do you mean with or without yolks?" Look of incomprehension like, egg whites or eggs with yolk? She sighed. "I don't know, lady, but one is yellow and one is white." A grilled cheese with no bread. Probably I have been that weird customer in the eyes of the waiter cook. Anyway, I was in a Chinese restaurant, and I had problems with my pronunciation. I tried to order a dish with pork, cooked served in a cast iron plate, with vegetables and a creamy sauce which consists of local herbs and spices. I ordered it as a side dish. 45 minutes later, they entered the dining room with a complete pig's leg steamed before it was cooked into the oven. No idea what else was on that plate. Well, it didn't come on a plate, it came on a table on wheels. So, a complete pig's leg as a side dish. Not a waiter, but one time the person in front of me in line at Chipotle ordered 3 tacos with nothing but white rice. I am a waiter in a sports bar in Nebraska. A lot of weird requests roll through that place, but one has always stuck out. A lady once ordered a BLT without the lettuce or tomato, but instead with butter and extra mayo. She ordered a lard and grease sandwich. Not a waiter, but I used to bartend at a sports bar that served food, and I can't tell you how many times someone would sit down and order a Blue Moon and then sit there and ask me for a gluten-free menu. I'd like the soup du jour. Get lady some soup. Excuse me, I've had soup du jour before, and this is not soup du jour. Yesterday a man ordered a pint of blue cheese salad dressing. I think he lost a bet. Technically a barista, but last week I had a customer order a large coffee with a side of our creamiest salad dressing. Yeah, don't know if it is weird or not. Someone ordered only a bun at a 3 to 4 star restaurant. Took 1 hour to eat it. The bun costs like $20 too. I don't know why. A burnt steak. Like, burnt to a lump of charcoal burned. Never in my life did I think I would ever meet anybody who actually ate burnt steak. Writing down that order and putting it through was so painful. That poor steak. Not a waiter, but taking orders at a Burger King. It was my first time on the register and a guy walked up and ordered 10 original chicken sandwiches with no mayo and tartar sauce. I repeated it back to him, because the order was so out of left field I thought I misheard. Turns out people get mad when you question their weird orders. Worked for a sushi restaurant and a husband and wife came in and looked very confused. I took them to their table and got them situated and came back with menus, and they asked in really broken English, found out they were Ethiopian. Do have fish here? I couldn't tell if they were being serious or not, but I told them that we are a sushi restaurant and we have a lot of varieties of fish. When I told them that, their eyes became big and they were so excited. I walked them through the menu and they were settled on the large sashimi platter. I had a sneaking suspicion that this couple did not know what sushi really was, so I made sure that they knew it was going to be completely raw. The husband hushed me and said, yes, go bring food. Valp, all right, it's a done deal now. Go over to bring the plate and bring it to them, and I swear their faces looked like I just crucified Christ myself. What is this? This not cooked, no good, I'll admit. My face went from 0 to are you fucking kidding me, but I am trying to put myself in their shoes and find out why they are overreacting to this. From what I was told, uncooked fish is a bad sign and should never be eaten. They said they want this fish cooked. I told them that we could scrap the item and they could go somewhere else because we will not have anything they will like. They suggested we cook the fish. I gave up at this point. Took the plate back to the kitchen. The chefs were just as confused and they popped the fish into the stovetop oven we only use for eel. Just to clarify, this is sashimi. Thin pieces of sashimi. When it came out of the oven, it was now very small pieces of dry fish. I brought it back. They ate it. Didn't tip. Left. I've worked in restaurants for 6 years, from diners to bars to steakhouses. Once woman asked me to make her egg sandwich as greasy as possible, then was mad it wasn't leaking grease. I love it as much as the next guy, but that was gross. This woman ordered a filet mignon, well done, already weird but not uncommon, then sent it back when it literally looked like a hockey puck that can be used at MSG. The one person complained her salad was cold, and my manager was like, she wants a hot salad? I am like, I guess. I am missing some way better ones but can't think of them at the moment. When I was waiting tables at the Outback, I had a customer ask for an 8-ounce prime rib. And how would you like that prime rib cooked, sir? I want it blue. Blue? Yes, blue. I wrote down the order and sent it to the kitchen, but, out of curiosity, I immediately asked the chef if he knew what it was, and if so, what was it? He guffawed for a second or two and then said, "Blue is." A blue prime rib is when I cut a very rare prime rib and put it in the refrigerator for about 5 minutes. When I take it out, it'll be bluish, so I plate it and serve it. So, I took it to the table and dude said, "That's exactly like I wanted it, cold, raw meat. It's what's for dinner." I was a manager at In-N-Out for a few years. There was this regular customer who would come through the drive-thru late at night on usually Friday or Saturday. He was a really crotchety old man, and seemed to enjoy making us miserable. He would order a hamburger, with everything on the side except the pickles. The pickles, he wanted on the bun. He would then call and complain to corporate that the bun was soggy. Turns out, he would take the burger home 20-30 minute drive and assemble it there and eat it. I tried to explain if we put the pickle on the side it would help preserve the toast on the bun, but he would have none of it. Whenever a new girl started in the drive-thru taking orders, he would be really mean on the speaker, and then really nice at the window. Then he would refuse to drive away until the new girl he was mean to came to the window and said to have a nice night. Super weird. Mostly the substitutions I got chewed the fuck out by this lady who could not believe we wouldn't substitute shredded cheese on her salad for shrimp. She kept arguing with me and demanded to see my manager, who told her the exact same thing. I did not and still don't get her logic on that one. I work at Culver's. It's like McDonald's except we actually give a fuck about quality. A few weeks ago someone ordered a cup full of crushed Oreos covered in chicken gravy, and that was the exact moment that I lost all faith in humanity. I used to work at a Friendly's as a waiter. One day I got sat 3 women, a large woman and her large daughters. I remember their meal like it was yesterday. They got an order of loaded waffle fries covered in cheese, sour cream and bacon. They asked for a cup of ranch and mayo. They each ordered deluxe bacon cheeseburgers, 2 patties on a bun, cheese, bacon, mayo, lettuce, tomato, and each asked for double orders of fries, yes, with mayo and ranch. Each extra cup of mayo and ranch cost extra. They each had sodas and each ordered milkshakes. After their meal I asked if they were doing dessert today. The mom orders the crowd pleaser. The crowd pleaser is 12 scoops of ice cream, every topping. We offered whipped cream and cherries. She asks for extra of each topping. It feeds 4-6 people. I'm thinking okay, that's gonna be it, and I go to walk away when the one daughter orders a Jim Dandy, basically a 5-scoop banana split, and the other orders a 5-scoop peanut butter cup sundae. Friendly's is not an expensive restaurant and the meals are pretty quick. But these 3 women racked up a $90 bill and ate an amazingly large amount of stuff. I was amazed. I worked at a very popular breakfast chain a few years ago. I once had a customer ask me for an extra pepper shaker, and I figured it was because his table didn't have one. Once I brought it over, he proceeded to dump, not 1, but 2 full pepper shakers worth of pepper onto his plate of 3 scrambled eggs and toast. Not exactly a waiter, but I make food at a cafeteria-style restaurant. We have one option on our menu, which is a build-your-own salad, and it comes with 6 toppings and whatever dressing you would like. I had one woman come in right before we closed, somewhere around 9:00, and ordered the build-your-own. Except the only ingredient she wanted was eggs, lettuce, balsamic vinaigrette, and 6 scoops of eggs. Wasn't so much what this older lady ordered but got off the buffet. She filled up a bowl of brown gravy and I thought she had mistaken it for pudding, but I watched her eat the whole thing with a spoon. Not a waiter, but a chef. I once had an order for a beet salad, nothing orange. So I asked the waitress, "No oranges?" To which she replies, "Nothing orange, or even yellow." She's allergic to the color orange. Not an employee but was having a latte at Starbucks when a normal-looking woman came in and absolutely lost it because they don't serve spaghetti. Seriously, WTF? I worked at a bagel store for 3 years. The weirdest thing someone ordered was a cinnamon sugar bagel with jalapeno cream cheese, hummus, pickled onions, salmon, and tuna. They then proceeded to ask me to put it in the microwave for a minute to warm it all up. Someone ordered a vegan burger with extra meat on. I used to work at a Culver's and a guy came in and ordered a double butter burger with cheese, peanut butter, and Thousand Island dressing. I must have given him some sort of look because he said, "Don't knock it till you try it." Still haven't tried it. A couple of months ago I had a guest order a bone-in ribeye well done. I explained that it will take a while longer to cook because it's a large steak. She groans and says okay. I get her steak sent out to her and she complained that it took forever to come out. Explain again. She's okay with the steak. Asks if I can bring out mayo and mustard. I do so and she proceeds to slather the steak in condiments. So I worked at a mom-and-pop burger place in high school. I will remember this particular order till the day I die. It was a version of our special burger, which comes with Canadian bacon, mushrooms, Swiss, and American cheese on 2 patties. So this guy wants bacon instead of mushrooms. No veggies whatsoever, no butter on the bun, tots undercooked to the point of disgusting mush. You better give him ketchup, And don't even think about putting a pickle on that plate or he's throwing a fit and you get to start over. He came in every day. I am so happy this is a threat. I worked at a casino a few years ago and there was a very eccentric man who would come in from time to time. The first time I served him, he asked for poutine with no fries. So essentially just cheese and gravy. But, the next time he came in, he ordered nachos with no chips. Like pardon? He always tipped very well though, so I never questioned it. There was a very nice couple that would eat at the steakhouse that I worked at. The man would order 2 plates of raw broccoli as soon as they sat down, before drinks. They would wait until the broccoli was brought to the table before placing any of the rest of the order. The lady would then proceed to 1-2 stand kneel in the booth and speed shred the broccoli into tiny pieces. She would add it to whatever she ordered and would cut her entire meal into 1-2 and cubes. I offered to have the kitchen cut the broccoli for her. We had a julienne device but she liked doing it herself. Nice couple. I worked at a high-end hotel restaurant, and a woman wanted a burrata salad even though it wasn't on our menu. Totally fine, we were a luxury restaurant that would do anything to make guests happy, so the chefs prepared a burrata salad for her. When her dish arrived at her table, she looked at it disappointingly and said, "Ugh, this is pathetic. It's not what I wanted." Turns out she had a very specific image in mind of how each ingredient would be laid out on the plate, and although all the ingredients were there, the aesthetic wasn't right. She sent it back twice for the chefs to rearrange it. Double the cheeseburger with extra cheese but hold the cheese. Yep. Disclaimer: not a waiter. I work at a Panera. A few months ago, this one woman ordered a cinnamon crunch bagel. Cut it in a spiral, toast each of the pieces separately, and put butter on them if you can. When I asked her what she meant, she gave me the most exasperated look and described it. Turns out she just wanted it cut into eighths and toasted. I'm still not sure where spiral came from. A well-done steak, no char on the outside, it has to have a lot of juice in it, and there can absolutely be no pink. I worked at a pizza place in high school. My friends' parents would always order a pizza with just shrimp. If I was making it for them, I would make it oval-shaped because they liked more crust. Not a waiter, but I expedite in a kitchen, so I see every order for the night before it goes out. I had one order come back that was literally a raw steak. Apparently the customer wanted it warmed up on the outside, but if there were grill marks, they would send it back. So our broiler guy held the steak in the grill for a literal 10 seconds, threw it on a plate and I sent it out. When I asked the waitress who served them how they liked the steak, she responded, "Oh yeah, she loved it." Turns out the steak was ordered by a teenage girl. Working at a bar, we tend to sell a lot of wings, and due to both the alcohol involved, and the tiny print on the menu, the wing flavors get mixed very easily. This usually results in someone mistakenly ordering a weird wing flavor combination. The most interesting has been badass horseradish garlic parm. The cook still made it. When I worked at a private golf course, this one family that came in was known for their outrageous orders. 4 mods on each item was pretty routine. That said, the dad was always really nice to me, and still wishes me a happy birthday every year even though I left 2 years ago, so I didn't mind working their table. The mom would always order a caprese salad. No cheese, no basil, no seasoning. So, essentially sliced tomato with balsamic. She would regularly pay $14 for sliced tomato. But, when gratuity is included, who am I to judge? Current bartender at a sports bar. I've had a lady screaming that she wants her turkey burger cooked medium rare. Because she's a paying customer and it's a burger, so you can cook it how I want it. In the 80s, I was a room service cashier at a posh yacht club in Miami where James Caan had a part-time residence. His son Scott used to order eggs Benedict, no eggs. He was about 8 years old at the time and I thought it was pretty adorable. Finally, something I can answer. I once had a guy phone in an order for a hamburger, but he wanted us to put in a blender and pour the mix into a tortilla and make burrito. I asked if he wanted a ground beef burrito, but he said no, he wanted the bun and the dressing from the burger in there. I refused his order. $20 glass of Pinot Noir with a splash of Diet Coke and an ice cube. She also whips out her designer bag and has a jar of capers that she added to every dish. At the restaurant I'm currently working at, I had a lady come in at about 10:30 p.m. We close at 11. On a weekday. It's not a cheap restaurant. Our house-made burgers, toppings, and frites is $16. With that in mind, she comes in and orders 4 burgers with no toppings and no bun, because her dog didn't feel like eating its normal serving of meat. I work at a pizza restaurant. This one customer comes in around once a week, and he orders a beer. That's fine, nothing unusual. But he always asks for a side of hot sauce. He takes it and pours it into the beer, mixing it. I thought it was the weirdest thing I'd ever seen. I read this as Walters of Reddit and was excited for an extremely specific thread. Not a waiter, but I was with a group of tourists in the heart of small-town Ireland when we popped into a pub for a bite. The guy working there was likely the owner, as I'd say he was in his 60s and lazily minding the place. Anyhow, he comes to take our orders, and being that this is a small pub, in a small country town in Ireland, the food on the menu is ridiculously normal. Simple sandwiches and the like. Anyhow, this one chick tries to order an egg white omelette. Old Irish man is like, "You want eggs but not all of the egg?" Like, holy shit woman, read the room and have some awareness. I used to work at one 24-hour diner, where every Wednesday night, around 3 a.m., the older guy walked in with his old mom. He would always order black coffee for himself and one single pancake for his mom. Every single time. Edit also, there was a guy who ordered 15 eggs over easy, and lots of toast. He would dip pieces of toast into egg yolks and eat it. He looked really trashy but tipped pretty well. It wasn't the salad, it was the 4 soup bowls of ranch to go with it. That's just too much ranch. Microwaved Coke. Knit 30 seconds, lukewarm, but 2 minutes, nigh on boiling. Sounds revolting. Someone asked for a cup of pickle juice. Pickles came in huge buckets full of the gross liquid, so we just scooped some up for her and she drank it up. I work in a Starbucks, but I feel like this might apply. I had a man come in and order a grand 4-pump mocha, 4-pump toffee nut, 4-pump hazelnut latte with 4 shots of espresso and 4 packets of the brown sugar we used for our oatmeal, also skim milk and whipped cream. The drink was 90 sugar with a splash of milk and topped with more sugar. He came in and ordered the drink every day for a week. Never seen him since. I was working in a resort kitchen when the chefs got an amazing deal on tuna steaks. They lovingly seared them and sent them out to the buffet. The guests at this resort were like 90 German. We had dozens of complaints that night that the fish was undercooked. The guys had to take it all back into the kitchen and cook it until it was well done. The one chef looked like he was going to cry. Obligatory, not a waiter, but I once witnessed someone at Chipotle order a white rice bowl with the only topping being a double portion of sour cream. America. Work in a fairly classy Italian restaurant. Place you wear a shirt and tie to. On Valentine's Day I had a guy get a 12 ounces ribeye well done. And then he asked for a side of ranch. Dude just paid $30 for what is essentially edible rubber to be used as a ranch delivery system. And then washed it down with a Mountain Dew. And then he tipped like shit. Surprise. TL doctor, don't dip your steak in ranch, kids. Not a waiter, but I was working at Dairy Queen, grill and chill fast food shiz. It was pretty annoying when someone ordered a McFlurry. This happened twice about every month. Also, people would ask what are the ingredients for Oreo blizzards. Oreo and ice cream genius. But once I asked what exotic meats we served. I answered that we only had chicken, fish, and cow products and bacon and cheeses. He then ordered a burger with only Swiss cheese, and bacon. Lots of bacon. He wanted a $9 burger for bacon. I complied as he complained about us not having buffalo, possum, or horse meat. Milk steak with a side of jelly beans. I had a very pregnant woman order a very rare T-bone steak. All the kitchen did was lay it on the grill for 2 seconds on each side. She ate the whole thing. My mom worked with me in a 5-star hotel. I wasn't there to witness it, but she was the one who got the order to call a prostitute and sent her to the guest's room after dinner. A side of Puff the Magic Dragon. You know what I'm talking about. I can tell by looking at ya. He was asking if I knew where he could get any weed. And I totally did, but instead I just looked really confused. Really confused. And said, "I'm sorry, but we're not a seafood restaurant." Wait. Do you mean Peter, Paul and Mary? That doesn't make any sense. And then I walked off. He didn't order any food. He just sat there alone for a few hours and then left. My sister used to work in a grocery store chain deli, and she told me people would regularly ask for a small sample like a pinch of raw hamburger to taste. She literally had to explain to grown human beings that you shouldn't eat raw hamburger and it's illegal for her to give raw meat samples. The place I worked at had a big chef-type salad dressed with honey mustard. I look up at my screen. I worked in the kitchen and I see a Chevy Chase. That's the salad with extra ketchup on the side. Fucking monsters. Girl insisted with whipped cream on a baked potato. Meant sour cream, and she was quite obviously intoxicated, so I attempted to help her out when she arrived. She kept repeating flogged, got worried when I inquired if she was certain she needed the just. Her face was priceless. She apologized profusely and recognized her error. We laughed, and she got her baked potato with sour cream anyhow. No hard feelings. Coors Light on the rocks with salt and a straw.